I'm going to try and get through this because a lot of really important stuff was announced important because I think Google Assistant is that shit. I built myself and my wife an app recently where, because I'd often be coding at home, and she'd be like, you never talk to me anymore. So I built an app where she could say something to me and then say something nice, and I record it, and it plays it back to her. Sometimes I throw in a few insults just to make sure she's paying attention. I'm very romantic, clearly. But I love the Google Assistant, and I think that's going to come out very clearly in this talk. So I'll cover what happened in I/O 2019, and let's get started. So the Google Assistant is basically the platform name for what we would all call the Hello Google device, the Google Home speaker, right? That's the most popular manifestation of it. There are various other forms of it as well. And as on date, it exists or it supports 30 plus languages in 80 countries and has been embedded in over 30,000 devices across 3,500 brands. Now that's not taking into account that the Android operating system itself is available on over 1 billion devices, and the assistant is naturally obviously plugged into the Android OS. And so in terms of just the reach and the installed base of this technology, it is absolutely stupendous. It is outstanding, and it's going to change the way we interact with machines going forward. I'm going to cover off both from a consumer perspective in terms of big announcements made as to what sort of functionality we can expect out of this technology, and also as a developer, what are the things you can do. But first, let's talk about the functionality. One of the big announcements was a project called Euphonia, which frankly is just a breathtakingly ambitious project. What does it do? It's an AI-driven voice transcribing service for people with speech or hearing impediment. So as any of you who work with ML or AI around speech recognition and NLP would know, this is a really complex problem. Being able to recognize non-standard speech problems is extremely hard. And of course, Google is pulling it off quite well. And this project is designed to help people living with these impairments and disabilities to better integrate with their community and their friends and their family. So this is an outstanding initiative, and I'm really excited to see that finally come through. The next is Duplex. Now, for those of you who did see the 2018 keynote speech, you'll remember this slightly creepy but really fascinating situation where the Duplex AI imitated a human being and booked a table at a restaurant. And the restaurant owner had no clue he was talking to AI, right? And of course, there's a little bit of negative press around that and all the rest of it, but then they did all the testing across the US in over 44 states, great user and business reception, because it's really a powerful technology. Now, what Duplex does is it basically trains conversational AI to handle simple, useful, everyday tasks, and the goal is to save you time by taking some of the mundane crap out of your day. In 2019, Google has just announced something called Duplex on the web. The best way to illustrate this is it's not so much a voice interaction as much as it's what happens after the voice interaction. So the demo that happened on stage was, you say, hey Google, book me a rental car for my next trip. Now, Google knows that your next trip is in September because it's in your calendar, it's gone through your email, it's seen your tickets. What it does is it throws open a web interface, and it goes through the rental car company's website. It goes through the entire website, populates all the fields, figures out from your past usage history what kind of car you're likely to like, goes through your tickets, works out what dates, populates the entire thing, and then gives it to you at the end neatly to just review and confirm. Right? So the entire process has been automated and happens real time on your screen. You're kind of hands off, you're just watching this happen, but you do control the final say and the data that goes into it. So slightly creepy, but really kind of cool. And of course, Google is very quick in trying to distance themselves from the Facebook situation at the moment to clarify over and over again that you retain control of your data, you retain control of the entire process. It's just automating the really boring stuff for you. So that was Duplex. Now, next gen assistant. This is the bit that I'm super excited about. In the current state of affairs is that the amount of the code and the algorithms that go into conversational AI for Google Assistant it's quite a lot. It's 100 gig of data that has to sit in the data center. So every time you're interacting with Google Assistant, it's actually pinging the network all the time to run the algorithms and get you back the data. Google's R&D has done something truly outstanding. They managed to reduce that to 0.5 gig, right? That's just extraordinary that they've been able to do that. And the reason why that's extraordinary is that that technology no longer has to sit in the data center. It's now going to be on the phone. And what that means is that speaking is going to be faster than typing. So the voice experience is going to be much faster than the tapping experience that we've all grown to love and use all the time. So in terms of summarizing the real benefits of that, it's real-time processing on your device. It's going to be at least 10 times faster than the conventional conversational experience. It handles a lot of complex app interactions and operations in real time, helps you multitask across apps, and operate the entire phone and device with your voice. Now, that's not to say everything can be done with a voice, but you'll see shortly just how much can. This is a bit of a little excerpt that I've got for you, and I'm going to try and load the relevant bit if I can. Entirely expecting that that's going to not work now because I want it to, and there are lots of people waiting for it to work. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, okay. For some reason that's not working. That's supposed to be an embedded video, but all right. I'll tell you very quickly what she does though. She receives a text from a friend saying, "How was your trip?" And she dictates a response. And the assistant knows that it's meant to go back into the SMS interface. It separates her instructions to the phone and the app from what the content of the message back is. She then asks to attach photographs. The photographs come, her gallery comes up, and she says only attach those with animals. And so the AI basically recognizes images of animals and attaches those and sends it back. She then drafts an email, and in mid-flow of the email, she says, "Oh, and the subject line is this." And then for send, she just said, "Yeah, you can send it now." And the AI knows that she's no longer dictating the email and switches over to actually controlling the email interface. Just absolutely extraordinary stuff. It's a pity that I couldn't get that to play. I'm not sure why though. But anyway. Now, the key difference is, and this was going to be a really fun interactive question, but since you didn't see the video, I can't really make it interactive. But the really interesting thing about this is, for those of us who find it really annoying to say, "Hey Google," "Okay Google" all the time, the speed of this means that you don't actually have to. So if you look at the video, and you can find it on YouTube, you'll see that she doesn't actually say, "Hey Google," "Okay Google" at any time. Because it's now on the device, she's just able to turn the conversation back and forth quite naturally and organically without the invocation phrase. So that particular feature is coming to Google Pixel phones later this year. And some commentator, I thought this was a very clever way of putting it, he said, it's hard to really emphasize how cool this is, but it's a bit like moving from a walkie-talkie conversation to a telephone conversation, and I think that's exactly the right way to put it. All right, the next thing that they announced was Pix for You, which is a slightly clumsy name for basically saying, personalized help. And what the context here is because Google has so much data on your preferences and what you like, and probably know more about you than you know, they're able to customize a lot of the search results specifically for you. So the same device can give customized responses to different people. So the example that they ran was, the speaker asked for a recipe, and based on his past browsing history, eating preferences, recipes, restaurant search, or whatever it is, Google's knowledge graph is able to pull out the results that are most likely to be relevant for that specific user. It also does something quite interesting, which is there's a problem in NLP, which is basically, I think they refer to it as reference resolution. So where you refer to something and its context is ambiguous, what does that resolve to? The example here is this guy's on stage and he says, "How far is it to Mom's place?" Now, it turns out that Mom's Place is a restaurant. There are a number of restaurants around them called Mom's Place. But the AI knows he's talking about his mother's home. And that happens because he's obviously punched in some of his personal details, including details like who his family are, his closest contacts, where he lives, what his preferred travel modes are, etc. But the interesting thing is that the machine learning is able to figure out, okay, the speaker actually is talking about this context, not something else. And that ambiguous context resolution is really an incredible leap for what's possible at the moment, and they managed to pull it off. So that's highly personalized help, which is meant to customize the interaction that you get out of your Google Assistant. Next is Let's Drive. And this is basically a feature where you hop into your car and you say, "Hey Google, let's drive." And what does it do? It basically pulls up an interface that's streamlined and designed for a better driving experience. Minimal touching required. It gives you a simplified UI dashboard with all your most popular stuff, given there is quick shortcuts. Helps you control the music from there, picks up a podcast that you were listening to in the morning that's not complete, and continues that. It's also integrated with Google Maps and Waze, so you can interact with Google Assistant through those interfaces. And importantly, when you need to make or receive calls, it doesn't interrupt the screen. There's a tiny little bar that comes up at the bottom, and you can command the phone to either accept, make, or reject the calls all through voice interface. So you don't need to tap the screen for that anymore. That's coming in the summer. for all Android Assistant, for all Assistant-enabled Android phones. Now let's talk about the things that they've announced for developers. And I know I'm absolutely blazing through the stuff because there's a bit to cover, but not too much more. So if there's any questions, do come to me later on. For developers, there were, I think, three main things. One is for Android developers, in 2018 at I/O, they previewed something called App Actions, which is a way to trigger your Android app or a particular activity within your Android app using the Google Assistant and go directly to that activity. This year, they extended that and said, all right, we've actually fleshed this out a bit. What's going to happen is App Actions are going to be available across four categories: health and fitness, finance, ride sharing, and food ordering. The example they give is someone's about to go for their run. They put on their headphones and they say, hey Google, start the Nike app and start tracking my run. It goes to the relevant interface in the Nike app. So it triggers directly that relevant activity just by using a voice command. And to incorporate it into your Android app, it's a simple matter, just bunging in this piece of code, add the actions element into your XML, into your manifest, and it links into it. All Google Actions, Google Assistant will then link into your Android app. The next thing that was announced was something called the Interactive Canvas, which is really because Google's pushing that particular device there, actually. That one, the smart display. So it's basically the same Google Home speaker, but with a smart display. And to give it that richer experience, they're making use of existing web technologies to paint the entire smart display surface. So the entire full screen experience is now available to these smart speakers. And they're starting with games because that's where they've noticed a lot of activity and an easy playground to prove the concept. And of course, this sort of technology leverages all the modes of interaction, being voice, visual, and touch. The next thing that was announced, which is probably the last one, is for content creators. Now, YouTube is one of the largest purveyors of how-to guidance on the planet. And there are lots of blogs out there that also do how-to guides. So what they've done is, how-to guides actually lend themselves very well to a voice experience. So Google's recommended that everyone uses something called JSON LD and microdata. JSON LD is JSON linked data. It's a structured format by which you can itemize the steps in any how-to guide in a standardized way. Part of the reason why that's also important is by getting web developers to adopt this standard in web pages, Google's search results start looking much richer. So rather than just a single line item with a link, they can actually, if you follow the JSON LD format, they can actually, and embed that in the script in your page, they can actually extract that and show the visual and the step, name, and title in the search results. So it just makes for a much richer experience. They're also bringing that to the voice and the Google Assistant experience to generate these richer interactive search results. And also, really, this is really cool, Google's actually prepared a standard template that any YouTube content creator can use. What it does is it makes you just type in the step, the details of the step, and which moment in the video link, in the YouTube link, that step relates to. It then grabs a still picture of that moment in the video link and shows it on an interactive display like that one, along with narrating the steps out because it's all following the structured data format. So you don't have to rewrite things. If you're a content creator and have 5 years of how-to videos on the net, you don't need to rewrite an entire application. You'll literally just fill out this spreadsheet, this Google Sheets, link it to a Google Assistant action, and it's ready to go, which is an outstanding piece of simplification there. That's what JSON LD looks like. As you can see, it looks like JSON with a bit of annotations and decorations, because that's what the schema.org schema requirement is, and that's how you do step-by-step interactions and action. And you can see there's a script tag on top, and that's how you embed it in a web page so that it can be read by the Google search engine and the steps pulled out. And I think that's about it. So any questions, and you need to ask anything, hit me up on Twitter or speak to me later on.
I think we've probably got time for 2 quick audience questions.
Correct.
When do you think duplex will be released wider?
It's a good question. Let me see if I've got it on the slide because I do not remember it off the top of my head. Yeah, I didn't put it in there. I don't know. I can find out and let you know. But I'm sure they mentioned it, but I've just forgotten it. Yeah, I think it's later this year if I'm not mistaken. I keep forgetting when the Americans say spring in some southern hemisphere. I'm like, when's that? But I can look into that.
I'm sure Brett from Google will be happy to spill all the beans on their secret product announcements and stuff like that. So, yeah.
At least buy me a beer first.
Do we have one more quick audience question?
Cool.
All right. Well, a
Awesome.
big round of applause for Zubin.